Hello, Podmates! I'm Howie Severino and welcome to our new podcast series. Mga kwento ng kasaysayan na may koneksyon pa rin sa kasalukuyan. Enjoy listening!
Noon pa man, hindi nawawala ang mga issue at kontrobersya tuwing eleksyon. At isa sa pinakakontrobersyal na halalan sa kasaysayan ng bansa, kinasangkutan nina Andres Bonifacio at Emilio Aguinaldo sa Tejeros Convention sa Cavite.
Even before the election would happen, Diego Mojica, one of the magdiwang men, already whispered to Andres Bonifacio that some of the ballots seems to have already a name on them.
Nung binilang daw yung balota, mas marami yung balota kaysa sa tao na nanood.
So kasama natin ngayon si Xiao Chu, ang kilalang public historian, at pag-uusapan natin ngayon ang kasaysayan ng ating eleksyon, lalo na yung kabanatang naganap sa Cavite noong 1897. So sa kasaysayan ng eleksyon ng Pilipinas, mahalagang kabanata nga ang Tejeros Convention. Gusto kong tanungin sa iyo, Xiao, nasaan ba ngayon ang Tejeros, no? Saan yung Tejeros sa kasulukuyang probinsya ng Cavite?
Well, tandaan natin na yung Tejeros Convention, nangyari yan sa Casa Hacienda de Tejeros. Okay. Hacienda de Tejeros ay isang malaking lupain ng mga paring Recoleto na nakasituate yan sa Rosario, Cavite. So, itong Casa Hacienda de Tejeros, ang pinakamalaking Recollect Friar House sa buong Pilipinas, as I remember. So, noong panahon ng himagsikan, ang nangyari dyan, ginawa siyang kinubkob ng mga pwersang revolusyonaryo sa Cavite. Nagkaroon sila ng himpilan. At noong panahon na yon, naroon din yung pamilya Rizal. At si Josephine Bracken nga, naroon din, at siya yung nagsuggest na yung Tejeros, Casa Hacienda de Tejeros ay gawing ospital ng Katipunan din.
Wow, napaka-interesting niya. Hindi ko alam na may connection pala sa pamilya ni Jose Rizal, no? Who had just been executed 3 months before, no?
Yes.
December 30, 1896, kasi the Tejeros Convention happened in March, no? 1897. Just several. And sabi mo nga, si Josephine Bracken pa, nandun din, no? She was there at that time.
Yes.
She's not even mentioned, no, in a lot of the accounts of the Tejeros Convention, that there is this connection to Rizal, which is significant, di ba? Kasi si Rizal, of course, inspired Bonifacio and many of the revolutionaries, no? Ano ba nangyari sa Tejeros? Anong masasabi nating significance nito?
So, alam natin na sinimulan ni Andres Bonifacio yung himagsikan noong Agosto 1896 sa area ng Balintawak, no? Caloocan, na ngayon ay nasa Quezon City. Now, tandaan natin din na ito yung transition na mula sa pagiging isang secret society, nung lumabas ang Katipunan, pinaniniwalaan naming ilan sa aming mga historiador na naging nag-transition from a secret society to a government. Yung Katipunan ni Andres Bonifacio at siya nga yung naging presidente noon. At mapapatunayan nito kasi pagdating ng mga ilang buwan, magkakaroon ng headquarters din si Andres Bonifacio sa Pantayanin, which is at the boundary of Antipolo and Pasig. At ito nga yung naging punong himpilan na iniwan niya na may jurisdiction sa Maynila, no? Under Julio Nakpil and Emilio Jacinto. Now, eventually, habang sineset up niya itong headquarters na to, pinatawag na siya sa Cavite. So by November, pumunta na siya sa Cavite dahil nga mayroong mga factions doon ng Katipunan.
Sa gitna ng revolusyon, nagkaroon ng katipunan ng dalawang paksyon, ang mga grupo na Magdiwang at Magdalo.
Tandaan natin na yung Sangguniang Bayan, yun yung provincial at chapter, ang tawag doon ay Magdiwang. And Magdiwang was headed by Mariano Alvarez. Siya yung isa sa mga kamag-anak ni Gregoria de Jesus, na asawa ni Bonifacio. That's why it's always mistaken that Andres Bonifacio is the head of Magdiwang, which is not true. By lang yun, by affinity lang. Now, eventually, magkakaroon ng isang chapter which is the Magdalo chapter, which is supposedly under the Magdiwang. Pero ang nangyari sa kanila, ano sila medyo mayayaman yung mga miyembro nila, no? At dahil mayaman yung mga miyembro nila, malaking lumago yung kanilang sangguniang balangay. Sangguniang balangay lang sa dati, under Magdiwang. Kaso lumaki yung miyembro nila kasi ang recruitment nila, una, they abandoned the Katipunan recruitment. Alam niyo, matagal yun. But there was already a revolution. So ang nangyari dyan, kung ikaw ay isang asendero, tulad ng yung mga kaibigan ni Aguinaldo, diba? Kasi ang head nun, si Baldomero Aguinaldo, pinsan ni Emilio. So nangyari doon, kung ikaw ay asendero at meron kang mga tao, general ka na, yung mga tao mo, tao na ng revolusyon. So dumami. At nung dumami yung Magdalo, named after Kawit's patron saint, Mary Magdalene, nagkaroon ng away with Magdiwang. Nagkaroon ng selosan. And of course, turf issue yan kung sino yung kukuha ng mga pagkain from the people, no, etc. At mga baril, yung allocation ng mga baril, etc. Nagkaroon sila ng hidwaan. And that's why Andres Bonifacio was invited para ayusin yung gulo na yan. Dahil siya nga yung pangulo ng Haring Bayang Katagalugan. Siya yung pinuno ng lahat sa kanila.
Just to clarify a couple of things, no. At this time, kasi this is already March, no. So nagpunitan ng sedula noong August 1896, and then they started fighting. Correct me if I'm wrong, no? But my understanding is itong mga puwersa ni Bonifacio, hindi sila masyado nagtatagumpay, no? Doon sa kanilang mga laban. They were not very successful in Manila kasi syempre doon nako-concentrate yung mga Kastila. Meanwhile, sa Cavite, lumalakas yung Katipunan doon. So kumbaga, ang pagkaintindi ko, parang in a way, itong sinasabi mo ngang puwersa ng Magdalo, no, na mga pinuno niyan, mga mas mayayaman, no? Kaya may mga tauhan sila na na-mobilize nila, no? Parang medyo yumayabang sila, right?
Yeah,
Dahil nananalo sila sa bakbakan eh, 'di ba? May baril sila, they had a series of battlefield victories. So, kasama yan sa konteksto ng pagpunta ni Bonifacio doon. Kaya anyway, tama ba yung impression ko?
Tama 'yun, ano? Medyo nga yumayabang sila.
Nakausap ko rin ang history professor na si Jose Victor Torres ng De La Salle University. At sabi niya, dehado na ang Katipunan dahil hindi nagtutulungan ang dalawang paksyon ng kilusan, ang Magdalo at ang Magdiwang.
The problem that eventually cropped up with the Cavite Katipunan was that they had two factions. One was the Magdiwang, that was headed by Mariano Alvarez. Okay? And the second one, of course, was the Magdalo, headed by Baldomero Aguinaldo, the cousin of Emilio. No? But even though Baldomero headed the Magdalo, it was Emilio Aguinaldo was the recognized leader, the leader for the entire thing. No? The problem was you have two factions in one single province, kanya-kanyang teritoryo. So, when you have now two organizations in one single province that became victorious, each and every one now will become his own territory. The only disadvantage that they had was that the Magdiwang in Cavite were located in the different towns that were on the mountainside. But however, the towns owned by the Magdalo, the ones occupied by the Magdalo, were either on the boundaries of the province or near the seaside. So what happens now? When the Spanish attacked, ang unang natatamaan were the Magdalo people. It caused quite a lot of problems now because the Magdiwang doesn't want to help. Teritoryo niyo yan ang ginusto niyo. No? Kaya sa inyo na lang yan. No? The only way that they could find a solution for this, no, was to go to the recognized leader and let him referee over our differences. This was suggested, of course, by both the Magdiwang and the Magdalo, which they agreed to. Let Bonifacio come to Cavite, let him referee over us, let him decide whatever decision that he has, we will agree to. So they called Bonifacio. No? They had a messenger sent to Bonifacio who was hiding in Rizal province. He was hiding in Morong. He goes now to Cavite. Okay? He was met, of course, he was well respected, no?
December 1896, 3 buwan bago ang pagpupulong sa Tejeros. Nagtungo na sa Cavite si Andres Bonifacio kasama ang kanyang mga kapatid, asawang si Gregoria de Jesus at mga miyembro ng magdiwang. Ayon kay Xiao Chua, dito raw mas nangibabaw ang pagkakaiba sa pamumuno ni Bonifacio at Aguinaldo.
Pagkasama namang lumaban ng Magdiwang at Magdalo, sa totoo lang. Pero marami pang meron pang isa pang kailangang layer na makita dito na hindi masyadong nadidiscuss. No? And what is this? Si Andres Bonifacio, when he was in Cavite, alam naman natin na si Andres Bonifacio, pambansa na siyang mag-isip. Hindi siya nag-iisip in a local way. So, ang nangyari dito, tandaan natin, bakit faithful yung mga tao ni Aguinaldo sa kanya? Because he was acting like a mayor of a town. Siya ay Gobernadorcillo, kapitan ng bayan ng Kawit. So, ang tao niya, basically, inaalagaan niya. So, ibig sabihin nun, kung may mga hindi pagsunod, hindi siya masyadong nade-negotiate, no? Eh si Andres Bonifacio, pag hindi ka sumunod, tanggal ka. Eh nakita niya merong isang Caviteño na tinanggal ko na yan, bakit pa nandito yan, sabi ni Bonifacio. So una pa lang sa sampa niya sa Cavite, nagkakainitan na. And then, of course, the other thing was, kasi sabi nga ng mga historian, single-minded man si Andres Bonifacio. Kung ano yung naiisip niya, yun yung talagang gusto niya. So one problem was, tandaan natin yung mga Caviteño, religious people. Na, the paradox of Caviteños is, alam natin na they're very strong people. Alam nyo naman na dyan nagkakaroon ng mga maraming election-related violence. No? Pero, they were also deeply religious. Deeply religious. Ang nangyari dyan, Aguinaldo, alam natin, yung Magdalo came from St. Mary Magdalene yan. Now, what happened was, Andres Bonifacio, meron silang nahuling mga praile ng Cavite. Isa na dyan si Antonio Piernavieja, isang praile na dating na taga Bulacan. And this guy, siya yung pumatay o yung sa Kristan niya yung pumatay ng isang bata na yun ang naging inspirasyon ni Rizal dun sa kwento ni Crispin sa Noli Me Tangere. So, notorious itong praile na ito na si Antonio Piernavieja. So, napunta siya sa Cavite, doon siya nabutan ng revolusyon, nahuli siya ni Bonifacio. Ang ginawa ni Bonifacio ay pinatay niya itong mga praile na ito o pinapatay niya. No? Pinapatay niya sa Maragondon, Cavite. So yun, si Telesforo Canseco, a Caviteño, recorded that is one of the reason why some Caviteños, especially the rich people, did not like Bonifacio because of what he did to the priests.
Why was Bonifacio in Cavite so early? Because we know that he was in Tejeros to help patch things up between the Magdiwang and Magdalo, no? But back in November, may hidwaan na ba itong dalawang faction?
Yes.
Or may ibang dahilan kung bakit siya naandun sa Cavite?
So, yes, actually, yun na yung konteksto talaga, yung hidwaan. So, November pa lang, nandun na siya. The sources cannot tell us why he stayed so long. But I guess, he was really concerned with the Cavite affairs or he really trusted yung iniwan niya doon sa Haring Bayang Katagalugan, doon sa tinatawag na Sangguniang Bayan ng Hilagaan, who are, of course, Julio Nakpil and Emilio Jacinto.
Dahil si Bonifacio ang kinikilala pa ring supremo ng Katipunan, buong akala niya ay mananalo siya sa halalan.
So he actually fought side by side with
Yes.
people who eventually became his enemies, no?
Yes. And yun na nga papasukin na nga natin, no? So going to the Tejeros Convention, people always depict it na parang it was a battle against Magdiwang and Magdalo. But for some strange reason, and I will tell you this, even if I am a Bonifacio advocate, ang nangyari dito parang at some point, these two already were coalescing. Yan yung context ng Tejeros Convention. Apparently, it was a Magdiwang guy, Severino de la Salas, who suggested na dapat magpa-eleksyon na tayo. No? Magpa-eleksyon na tayo. Bakit? What is the need? May have a government. The Katipunan government, the Haring Bayang Katagalugan of Bonifacio was a government. Ang sinasabi ni Severino de las Alas, hindi lahat ng Katipunan, at magdiwang ito, magdiwang siya, hindi lahat ng members ng revolution sa Cavite ay Katipunan. Yun ay sinasabi natin. Kasi nga they discarded the Katipunan method. At that premise, parang Andres Bonifacio agreed to an election thinking that he will still win. Sabi ko nga kung ako si Bonifacio, dapat ginit ko, may pamahalaan tayo. Tapos ito pa yung nangyari. This is an election to overhaul the Katipunan hierarchy, Haring Bayang Katagalugan. Bakit hindi in-invite yung ibang chapter? Bakit hindi pumunta si Jacinto from Pantayanin? Bakit hindi sila invited? Bakit itong Cavite lang yung invited? So parang paradox sa akin yun. Hindi ko maintindihan bakit pumayag si Bonifacio. Unless he was thinking, hindi talaga siya tagilid.
Excuse me, di ba may mga taga Batangas din nandun? Nandun
Yes.
si Miguel Malvar, di ba?
Well, yes, because they already joined the forces in Cavite. Si Rillo, taga Batangas yun, yung nagsabi na ituloy yung convention kahit na umalis si Bonifacio. I will not discount the fact that there are other chapters. Pero nagtataka ako, bakit walang representative yung mga tao ni Bonifacio? Di ba? Yun yung ano doon. Unless yun na nga, he was really thinking that he would win. If you're going to look at the sources, that is what it seems to be. No? Kampante siya na susuportahan pa rin siya. Of course, what he did not know was what is already the brewing thinking about him among Caviteños, especially the Caviteño elite.
Ang pulong sa Tejeros ang nag-usbong ng kauna-unahang snap election ng bansa.
Well, because we believe na ang bansang Pilipinas ay isinilang ng himagsikang Pilipino at ito yung mga una nating leader, sina Andres Bonifacio, sina Emilio Aguinaldo, itinuturing ng marami na ito yung unang de facto national election na. Ako kasi I have an inkling that they were planning it already, di ba? Pero to lead to the election, we can also say na parang snap election din siya. Kasi nga, tanda natin, hindi naman scheduled yung mga termino ng presidente ng Haring Bayan. So we can really consider this a disruption, a snap election, shall we say.
Pananaw naman ni Professor Torres.
This was supposed to be the big meeting to decide who will what will happen out to the revolution. The problem was when Bonifacio entered the convention hall, he sat down on the side of the Magdiwang. And he didn't even ask Baldomero to sit down with them and everything. So to the frustration, of course, of the Magdalo, wala pala magyayari dito. Kinampihan lang pala niya. Kinampihan lang pala niya yung dapat nating kakampi. After much of the meeting, with all the disagreements coming out, each one was accusing each other of being a tulisan or not following the... Finally, Baldomero asked, the only solution that we're going to have here is to found a government. Let us put together a revolutionary government and let us elect who will be our leader. Doon pumasok na yung idea of a pamahalaang panghihimagsik, a revolutionary government. So a government will be formed to form the leadership of the revolution, not just the Katipunan, the entire revolution na. No? And the Katipunan will be dissolved. Because the Katipunan now will be replaced by the revolutionary government.
Sa mainit na talakayan bago mag-eleksyon, mga kapatid pa ni Jose Rizal at maging byuda niya na si Josephine ang nagpahinahon sa mga lalaking nagtatalo.
Now that I'm now remembering the sources. So apparently, there are some people who really planned this as an election, even if the agenda was to define what is Katipunan leadership. Pero kasi syempre, kung if you're going to redefine what is the Katipunan leadership, what kind of government do we have? Kasi yun yung unang debate. Kaya sila yung nagtagal. Kasi nung earlier in the day, ang kanilang pinag-uusapan, tayo ba ay isang, ano ba tayo? Tayo ba ay republika? Tayo ba ay monarkiya? Ikaw ba ay hari? Ikaw ba ay... So, of course, ang sinabi ni Bonifacio, tayo ay yung letrang K sa ating watawat, yung watawat ng Katipunan, letrang K, baybayin, ay sumisimbolo sa kalayaan. Tapos may nagsabi na, hindi, kahit naman monarkiya, pwedeng maging malaya. So, eventually, nag-retract si Bonifacio, sabi niya, kung gayon, tayo ay republika. So, parang doon sa yun, nag-trigger ngayon yung nako, ibig sabihin, kung republika tayo, hindi ito yung ayos ngayon, yung setup ngayon. So, kaya discussion. Sa sobrang pag-aaway nila, itong mga kapatid ni Rizal, yung mga Katipunan girls, si Josefa Trining, at etc. And then, nandyan si Josephine Bracken, they were already, sinasabi na nila sa mga tao, na kayo sila yung nagpapayapa? Time out muna tayo, ganyan, na pahupain natin. So, yun yung role nila. Ang important yung role nila doon. And then, that's when they decided na, okay, pa-election tayo. Yung una nilang method sa election ay, so, merong nomination. So, ninominate si Andres Bonifacio. In absentia, ninominate si Emilio Aguinaldo. So, ano ang makikita natin dito? It was the magdiwang people who were supervising the election. And ito pa yung makikita natin sa research si Jim Richardson. There were probably only 8 Magdalo members there. Why? Because they were fighting in Salitran, in Dasmariñas. Sina Aguinaldo were fighting in Salitran. So, ang makikita natin dito, hindi siya battle against Magdiwang and Magdalo. This is already, they will oust Bonifacio basically.
Sa nangyaring eleksyon, 3 ang naglaban sa pagkapangulo. Si Andres Bonifacio at Mariano Trias mula sa Magdiwang at si Emilio Aguinaldo mula sa Magdalo. Ngunit bago pa man ang halalan, may chismis na ng dayaan. Kwento ni Professor Torres.
Even before the election would happen, Diego Mojica, one of the Magdiwang men, already whispered to Andres Bonifacio that some of the ballots seems to have already a name on them. There's a ballot. Of course, that was only an observation from one man, However, Bonifacio disregarded it. Sabi niya, let's trust our compatriots here. Okay? All Bonifacio requested was that whatever the elections, whatever the results, we will respect whatever results would come out. The results came in for the first election. Bonifacio came, I think Bonifacio came second. Then, of course, Aguinaldo came in first. So, Aguinaldo was declared the winner to the elections. Okay? Now, after that, it was agreed by the electorate, let's do away with the balloting. Let's do it by, they call it via voce. By those who are in favor of this candidate stand on one side of the room. Those who are in favor stand on one side. So for the Vice President, until the last, until the Director de Interior, the Secretary of Interior, everything was via voce. Openly, it was open elections na. Okay? The Vice President, Mariano Trias won, Nanato Caviteño, against Bonifacio pa rin. Then, all along down the line, Bonifacio was a candidate, but he was never elected.
Ayon naman kay Professor Xiao Chua.
First, si Andres Bonifacio, actually, he was forewarned. I don't know kung kailan Hindi ko maalala kung before going to the meeting or during the meeting before the election na parang done deal na ito, sir. Meron ng mga nakasulat sa mga balota na bibilangin. And then, nung binilang daw yung balota, mas marami yung balota kaysa sa tao na nanood. Yun yung allegation ni Diego Mojica. Diego Mojica, who was a Bonifacio person in Cavite, was telling the Pangulong Bonifacio, meron ng stuffed ballots. So meron na ditong dayaang mangyayari. Which Bonifacio dismissed. Hindi niya pinansin. Sabi niya, hindi naman siguro ganyan. And they proceeded with the election. Now, ito yung funny. Paggabi na at gusto nang umuwi ng mga tao. So what happened was, instead of secret balloting, di ba binibilang pa yan every position, ang tagal. So sabi nila, let's just divide the room. Hatiin yung kwarto, which is if you're going to think about it, it's kind of silly. Di ba? So, pero that's what happened.
Ang mga inaasahan ni Bonifacio ay hindi nangyari. Nanalo bilang Pangulo si Emilio Aguinaldo. Natalo rin si Bonifacio sa iba't ibang posisyon, bukod na lang sa pinakahuli. Ngunit pati yun, ipinagkait sa kanya. Muntik pang magbarilan.
Yung election na ng Director of the Interior, which is the lowest position, basically the Interior Secretary of the government. Sa wakas, no? Divided the room, panalo si Andres Bonifacio. Itong si Daniel Tirona, who's very hot on Bonifacio, suddenly interjected and said, ang posisyong Direktor ng Interior ay isang posisyong maselan na kailangang hawakan ng isang abogado. Meron po tayong abogado rito, si Ginoong Jose del Rosario, na siyang nararapat na mahalal sapagkat ang katatapos pa lamang na nahalal ay walang katibayan ng anumang pinag-aralan. So, of course, what happened? Bonifacio speaks and said, hindi ho ba ang ating pinag-usapan dito ay igagalang kung ano ang napagkayarian ng grupo. Ang problema, si Bonifacio sabi niya, bawiin mo yung sinabi mo. Kasi it was an insult. Wala kang pinag-aralan. Bawiin mo ang sinabi mo. And then, of course, ayaw bawiin ni Daniel Tirona, and because of that, yung akala kasi natin, di ba, parang mindless na Bonifacio suddenly snaps, pak, and then inutok niya yung baril kay Daniel Tirona. Di ba? Ang basa namin dyan ng mga historiador na nakakaalam ng konteksto nito, this is actually a paghamon sa duelo, which Antonio Luna did to Jose Rizal and other gentlemen would do at that time when their honor was insulted. So basically, ang gagawin ni Daniel Tirona dyan, kailangan i-call niya yung duel. Ibig sabihin, tatanggapin niya. Ang problema, tumakbo siya, nawala siya sa mga tao. So, when that happened, Andres Bonifacio suddenly declares na bilang Pangulo ng pulong na ito, ay aking pinapawalang bisa ang mga pinag-usapan sa pulong na ito. And then with his men, with what a few men he had, he already left. And so when he left, he believed he was still the Pangulo ng Haring Bayang Katagalugan. So he still have his government because he nullified the results because of this incident na hindi ginalang ang pasya ng bayan. Pero, yun nga, si Rillo nagsalita doon sa crowd and he said, okay, kung ayaw na ng Pangulo, dapat tayo ituloy natin ang convention na ito. So doon nila tinuloy, and that is why the next day, ito na yung next day, dalawa na yung gumaganang gobyerno. Andres Bonifacio returned to the Casa Hacienda de Tejeros to affirm yung tinatawag na Acta de Tejeros. Acta de Tejeros means siya pa rin ang Pangulo ng aming bayan. So yun ang kanya, parang ginigit niya, siya pa rin ang Pangulo. And then he signed it with his friends. At the other side of the river, so tandaan natin yung Tejeros Convention, may river doon. At the other side of the river was already the bayan ng Tansa, Cavite. Tansa na yon. Sa simbahan ng Tansa, yung mga nanalo sa Tejeros Convention, including Recarte, they were already going to the church to be sworn in as the new government by the parish priest Zenon Villafranca in front of that cross in Tansa, Cavite. The unfortunate thing was, the tragedy of the revolution happened because of this division in the revolution, na dalawa yung gobyernong umiiral by March of 1897.
Hindi kinikilala ni Bonifacio at ng kanyang pangkat ang resulta ng halalan. Pinanindigan na siya pa rin ang Pangulo. Lumalim ang hidwaan sa kilusang paghihimagsik.
So, linawin ko lang, yung Acta de Tejeros is rejecting Bonifacio officially, formally rejecting the results of the election in the Tejeros Convention. Kumbaga, I guess the equivalent today of an election protest, no? Na hindi mo tanggap yung resulta ng election.
Correct.
Tama ba?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, we can say that. We can say that. Although, of
Yeah.
course, yung kung kanino mo siya isasubmit, yun yung wala dito. Kasi ngayon, we submit it to the COMELEC.
Para sa mga kasalukuyang Pilipino, parang ang napakalaki ng conflict of interest ni Bonifacio rito, no? Siya yung nag-chair kasi wala naman NAMFREL or COMELEC noon, no? So, siya nag-chair nitong election process at siya rin kandidato at nung natalo siya, ayaw niya tanggapin ang resulta, no?
Well, of course, the basis of that was there was an agreement na hindi siya igagalang dapat, hindi siya ginalang. So, on grounds.
Hindi ginalang yung pagkahalal sa kanya na bilang Secretary of Interior.
Okay.
But at the same time, hindi rin ginalang ni Bonifacio yung pagkahalal ng mga iba.
In a way,
So he actually violated the same gentleman's agreement, right?
But he was chair, so he thinks that he can nullify it.
Yeah. Yun nga yung
So yun yung
complication
perspective
dito, no?
niya, di ba? Yun yung perspective niya.
Yeah.
So kung pro Bonifacio ka, yun ang perspective mo that the illegal government is actually the Aguinaldo government.
Okay, so the Acta de Tejeros rejected the results, formally rejected results, no? And then there was a Naik military agreement that you also mentioned. That rejected the whole government that was being formed by Aguinaldo based on the election of the Tejeros Convention.
And because in that military agreement, actually, kung pag tinignan mo yung grounds sa kanya kung bakit siya pinatulan ng kamatayan, the number one actually was the Naik military agreement. Because Bonifacio is forming another army. Kaya siya military agreement. He was forming another army na parang dumodoble dito sa already existing Katipunan government, di ba, in Cavite that was now chaired by Aguinaldo.
Nangyayari ang lahat ng ito sa gitna ng bakbakan ng mga Pilipino laban sa mga Kastila. At nasa gitna ng labanan ang kapatid ni Emilio Aguinaldo na si Crispulo.
One of the first laws that was passed, the first orders that was passed by Aguinaldo as president of the revolutionary government, no, was to send reinforcements to Crispulo at Pasong Santol. That was his first order, right? Because he knew that the line was about to collapse. The story was, the reinforcements were on their way, hinarang ni Bonifacio. That was the story. Hinarang daw ni Bonifacio. Tapos, we all know what happened. No? The Spanish attacked, Crispulo died in the attempt, and Aguinaldo resented what happened, especially nalaman niyang Bonifacio blocked the reinforcements for his brother. And I think for me, personally, that was the start of his rivalry, his rift, with Andres Bonifacio.
Why did he block the reinforcements for Aguinaldo's brother at that crucial battle?
May personal din palang hugot sa pagitan ni Emilio Aguinaldo at Andres Bonifacio. Habang tumitindi ang digmaan laban sa mga Kastila, may lumalaking away din sa hanay ng mga Pilipino. Lahat ng yan abangan sa part 2 ng ating talakayan tungkol sa pinakaunang eleksyon ng bansa at alamin ang naging kapalaran ni Andres Bonifacio. This episode was produced by the team of Yu Marianga and Aubrey de los Reyes, supervised by Criselda Caringal, Arla Fabella, and Bernice Bukaw. Our camera crews are from the teams of JZ Teofisto and JB Del Rosario. This was edited by JR Magtoto and hosted by me, Howie Severino.
Thank you, Podmates, for listening and watching until the very end of this podcast. Alam nyo na, nakakatalino ang mahabang attention span. Don't forget to like and subscribe and binge watch our past episodes too. Until the next pod, mabuhay kayo at ingat lagi.